So, after the nightmare that was me trying to make a Rita Repulsa dress, I had a lot of scrap fabric left over that I just did not know what to do with. But then I remembered Impersonator from Power Rangers Zeo, and suddenly I knew exactly what to do with the fabric. I want Impersonator to be in scale of the Lightning collection, so I drew around one of my other figures from that collection and made a pattern from that. My original plan was to just stuff some pink fabric, but looking at the costume on the show, Impersonator does have some loose flaps of fabric, so I started by making a more trimmed version of her physical build instead. Now, this was the hardest part of the project, as I completely forgot that I would have to make a base for the physical body itself, and well, it's a good job no one's going to see that part, is it? I also wasn't very happy with her legs. They just looked a bit teeny tiny and out of place, so I had to make a brand new pattern for the legs, and the new legs looked much better. The arms were applied with a button joint, and it's okay. Again, no one's going to see this, so it's not that bad. It was now time to give Impersonator some skin, and looking at the costume on the show, she's got a bit of a frumpy thing going on, and that definitely makes this easier to make. And working from this pink cotton I have, I got to work making her skin. I noticed Impersonator has darts for eyes, which I attempted, but they didn't work out. I think I used too much fabric, I'm not entirely sure. So I backstitch embroidered on some eyes instead. This same method was used for her zipper mouth. The buttons on her forehead were made with satin stitch, but that made me realize actual buttons were going to be too big for this scale, so I had to go back and satin stitch on the other buttons that are on the rest of her body. Her finished body. I had to embroider on those, without a hoop. Fun, fun, fun. To attach her head to the rest of her body, I think it counts as an invisible ladder stitch, I'm not sure. But yeah, this sort of invisible double ladder stitch, I will just call it. Simply so that way I could generate a bit more frumpiness around the neck. Because if you notice the costume on the show, she does have a lot of excess fabric forming a collar, well, around her neck. So there you go. Now, despite being so close to the end of this project, I did some backtracking to her zipper, because the pull, I'm just not happy with it at this stage. So I super glued all the loose strands together and cut off the excess. Then I moved on to the final stage, which was her, I don't know, I'm going to call it a hat. Her hat was made out of black cotton and attached to her head with an invisible hem stitch. And then she was finished. So I'm going to start with the one negative here. The sewing pattern for the pink part of this figure. I don't know what I did wrong. I think the corner was just too sharp, but above the knees, the fabric was just moving in a way it didn't want to move, so I had to cut through the stitching a bit and seal it up with some glue. But now for the positives. I'm so happy I have this. I'm happy I did it, because I used up a bunch of fabric, it didn't go to landfill, and I have an Impersonator. And it's just nice to have her on the shelf with Rita and Zed. I mean, unfortunately, I don't own a Catherine to torment her with, because after all, she never did lock that purse. But yeah, I enjoyed this very much. I think this is the easiest thing I've done so far since learning to sew. If you liked it, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!